Nova Scotia, and they came back with a bang on this trip. They did 2 shows at the McGuinness Room at Dalhousie, which is a big deal. That's an awful lot of people. And you may remember the last time I talked to the band, I had Chris and Patrick on with their moms, which kind of meant I left out Jay and Andrew. But this time I managed to talk to those guys, and the band is just back from Japan, so they were very excited about that and had a lot of excellent things to say about the Far East. How did Rufus wind up on the tour?
I think originally what we were going to do was try and just have different bands from each area play, shows with us. So like in Ontario, maybe a couple of Ontario bands play a couple of shows with us, and out here, same sort of thing, bands from the East Coast. But, and Rufus Wainwright was on my list of people to play a couple of shows because he's still in Montreal. And, but then we found out, we were having hard trouble putting together, getting some bands for out west, and we found out he could do the whole tour, so it just sort of solved our headache a little bit if he did the whole tour.
But he couldn't do a couple of shows, and we did them with the Evaporators.
That's right, yes.
Which were pretty fun, too.
Yeah.
So, of course, the big news is you're just back from Japan. Is still called the Far East, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
This is our Far East to Far East tour.
Far East to Far East.
Japan to St. John's and Halifax.
Well, I'm assuming you were really excited to go to Japan, because that's not the sort of...
Even more excited when we got there.
Yeah. I mean, that's not the sort of trip you can take as a tourist unless you were really seriously rich.
But it wasn't that over-the-top expensive, because the yen's down. Means goody for the lowly Canadian buck.
Yeah.
So, I mean, prices were pretty comparable. I bet you could buy a cup of coffee for $5, and then you could go out and eat sushi for 3 people, and it costs less than $10.
Right.
Like, it just depends on what you want, where you're getting it, and how much of it you want. But it's all about getting stuff. It's all about buy over there. Love it.
I think there's Chris had a book where there's a translation of the word, the customer is always right, or that phrase.
Yeah.
But it actually translates into the phrase, the customer is God.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So that basically gives you an inclination of what it's like.
Consumerism.
We were there, 1 week we played 3 shows, we landed in Osaka, played there, played Nagoya the next day, and then we played a show in Tokyo, and then an in-store at a big record store.
And took the bullet train in between towns.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, 300 kilometers.
Cool.
Fastest you'll ever go on land.
Is that how fast it was? 300 kilometers?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's really fast.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so smooth and quiet. It's like the Montreal subway, but outside,
Really fast.
300 clicks.
Wow.
It's just the most civilized place you could ever be. So civilized and cultured. And everybody gets along. Like a city with like 12 million people like Tokyo, it just works so well for a huge, sprawling metropolis.
Right.
There's no fights. You don't see people yelling at each other. There's homelessness there, but they're just these little shanty towns set up underneath train tracks, but some of the like tarpaulin tents have little satellite dishes on top.
Oh, yeah.
And they all have cell phones. Cool.
They're just businessmen who are...
Cigarette vending machines and like beer and coffee vending machines everywhere.
Yeah.
You see men walking to work in the morning with a beer in their hand at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Told about Japanese crowds is that they'd be very sort of polite, that they would sort of sit, watch you perform, clap politely, and then, on to the next song. But it was the most enthusiastic crowd I think I've seen in my life. Basically, from word go, the whole crowd is just jumping up and down in unison, beaming, smiling, singing along.
No crowd surfing.
No crowd surfing. Everybody cheering the moment Chris would whip out his, his English-Japanese phrase book, or Andrew would count in songs in Japanese. And people would go, ah. They're so appreciative that I think that you made an effort to try and speak in Japanese, and also that that our band came there. Because we found a lot of people who had followed us for a little while and had been waiting, so it was eye-opening, and it was I feel extremely lucky that we were able to go over there and actually have a successful tour.
Now, how long is that flight?
Well,
Because you guys just got back.
15, about 20 hours
Yeah.
of traveling. And I had my birthday. We left on the 14th, and it was my birthday on the 15th. And because I basically missed half a day getting there, so we left Toronto at about 8 o'clock in the morning on the 14th and arrived at about 4 in the afternoon on the 15th. But it was really like just the same day.
Right.
But on the way back, we had 2 Saturday nights. We left Osaka at 7 o'clock Saturday night and arrived in Toronto at about 8 o'clock Saturday night.
Now, you've got shows in Halifax here. How many dates are you winding up doing in the East Coast? You are going to Newfoundland, yeah?
yes, 2 shows here, and then 1 over in St. John's, Newfoundland. We're going to play, I think, on your beloved station, Much Music, as well as Music Plus, I believe, because there's do you know those big shiny tunes things that come out and sell like 1 million copies?
Yes.
Well, we weaseled our way onto another one. So, very good. So we're sandwiched between, I don't know, Jamiroquai, Big Wreck, and Spice Girls, I think, or something like that. And so Money City Maniacs is going to be on it, and they're going to have a big launch little party show. So I think we're going to play live on good old Much Music and Music Plus as well for the next couple of weekends. So that's going to keep us really busy rehearsing for those. Just kidding. And then Christmas. And then we're going to go back to the States in January and play another 3 weeks because we did pretty well there in September. Yeah, we had a great tour, actually.
Good.
It was really, felt like we were making some progress for once.
Well, that must have made you happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like we've been on the road for a long time, but it's been pretty fun. Like, usually if there's anybody who's going to whine about it and start sucking, it's the guy. But just doing stuff like going to Japan just puts such a spark.
Well, you know, I think if you're going to places, especially exotic places like that, the response you get is good.
Yeah.
You can't possibly.
No, you can't look at it as a burden or anything. It's not. It's like just a ball.
And lastly, this is just, you know, for my own well-being, but just wondering, I'm hoping there was no negative feedback from your mothers, because, of course, last time you did something, and the other 2 moms were here, and, you know, I didn't want to leave anybody out. But,
My mom shot our TV set.
Oh, no.
She pulled a gun out and shot the TV set. She couldn't believe it. She was so furious. No, I'm just teasing. If my mom sees that, I'm sure she'll be all mad. She's like, oh, what did he say that for? No, I'm just kidding. No, I think my mom watched it and got a huge kick out of it.
My mom just shot Pat Murphy.